Okay, today is part one of 2 videos dealing with hip mobility. Today, this first video is on anterior hip mobility, so the front of the hip. I'm going to have 4 exercises I want you to work on. One of them is with the foam roller, the rest you don't need anything else. So to start off, what we want to aim for the first one is hip mobility into flexion. So if I'm going to do my right leg is forward. I start in a lunge position like this. Now, some of you may feel like this is like a bit of a hip flexor stretch, but that's for the side. Now, you will get some of that on this side, but we are focusing on the front for this one, okay? So when you start, you've got to come forward a little bit so you can get your hands down into there. Now, you'll notice that my knee is on the outside. So don't start like this because then you'll get jammed up. You go on the outside of that, all right? So knee on the outside, that'll also give you the external rotation part. I'll come to that in a minute. This hand, I like putting a fist down so that sort of keeps me even rather than dropping down like that. So maybe a fist like that. These 2 hands are so you can hold yourself up, okay? I don't want you holding yourself up with your legs, okay? Because then you won't relax and stretch. So think of the arms as the ones you're going to weight bear through, okay? Now from there, what you're going to try and do is keep your heel on the ground. And I want you to slowly slide forward into this position here like this, okay, until you get a stretch on the front here. Now, you might feel like it's a little bit in the hip joint as well, which is good, okay, but it can't be the jamming pain, okay? It's got to be like a stretch, like you're stretching soft tissue out. You're not jamming or pinching soft tissue, all right? So make sure you distinguish between the 2, all right? So it can be a bit of groin, it can also even be a bit of hammy if you're a little bit tight there, okay? But regardless, what we're aiming for is how far forward can you get your knee, how far can you drop your hip down, and that'll give you a hip flexion, and then how far can you let that knee go out to the right, if it's my right leg, which is the external rotation part. So hip flexion, external rotation there, without your heel coming up. Now you will find that you'll get a little bit of a stretch probably on the front of this one, okay? A little bit of quad, a little bit of hip flexor on that one. We are doing a hip flexor stretch after this, so you don't have to focus too hard on that. You focus on the front part of it, so gear yourself up so you're sort of almost feeling a bit more on the front than the back, okay? So that's your hip flexion ER, both sides. You want to hold those stretches for about a minute, even up to 2 minutes, no longer than 2 minutes, but at least a minute to get any sort of change and stretch in the tissues and in the joint, all right? So second thing, we'll stay on the same leg, or say same way, because now we're going to do hip flexor for this leg, all right? Now, hip flexor, your psoas one, all right? You start in a neutral lunge position. Don't just go and lunge forward and think you're going to stretch that out, okay? There's a couple of things I want you to really focus on to get the maximum benefit out of that. First thing you're going to do is, most of you who've got tight flexors will probably be a bit of an anterior tilt. Okay, so you've got to fix that first. So you've got to try and keep yourself in neutral, so you bring your hip over your knee and be upright as much as you can. And the way you try and do the tilt part is clench your buttock. Okay, so if I'm going to go from there, I want to rotate my pelvis this way, so I'm clenching my buttock, which will open me up in the front. Okay, and you'll feel, the more you squeeze your bum, the more you're going to feel in the front of your hip. All right, now once you've got that on, you've got to keep it on for the whole stretch. All right, so you got to think, I've got to keep my buttock on for the whole stretch, and some of you may even feel it going down your thigh a little bit, especially if you've got a bit of rectus femoris tightness, because rectus femoris is a hip flexor, so you and a quad, but it'll give you a bit of stretch down here if you're tight in there as well, okay? So don't be worried about that. Next thing I want you to do, this hand, I usually like putting my palm up, okay, and rotate it like that. Then what you're going to try and do, keeping your buttock on, you're still not lunging forward yet, I want you to tilt over to the opposite side. So it's my left side, I'm tilting to the right, all right? I'm also trying to reach back, okay? So I'm really pulling this up here, okay, which is giving more and more stretch, lifting up the front of the pelvis this way, okay? Once I've got that and I've got my buttock on, then I'm going to try and migrate forward. You don't have to go too far, okay? You're only going a few inches and like, oh, there it is there. Whereas if I just let that go and did that, it's actually a worse stretch, all right? So keep that buttock on, push up, lean back, push forward, and that's where you hold it for the 1 to 2 minutes, okay? That's going to give you a really nice release through the front. Okay, so that is number 2. Now, getting into number 3, I would get into the foam roller. You don't have to do this in sequence, but this is quite a nice little routine for you. The foam roller is going to give you that soft tissue release that you sort of can't get from a stretch. This, if I'm doing my left, it's going out to the left, all right? You don't want it crossing your body to the right. So what I'm going to do is put the front of my hip on the roller, okay, on the edge. Then I can lean down my elbows. I can also put some weight through that other leg. So weight down through that knee means I don't have to put full body weight on there. I can just put enough body weight as what I want. What you've got to try and do is roll up till you feel the bony front of your pelvis. That's your anterior superior iliac spine. Okay, you find the bone there, okay, so you're going to come down below that. And then you've got to try and work out where is the tightest area of that soft tissue. Okay, now what you can do with your pelvis is you can roll to the right and get more lateral on it, or you can sort of roll to the left and get in and get medial right in underneath that hip flexor. It's hard to see what I'm doing here, but right in under there. So have a hunt around and try and find the area that has got the most amount of tension, if you like. There'll probably be some familiar spots in there, and just see if you can go back and forward past the area. So don't just stay on there for 3 or 4 minutes. Okay, I want you to roll slowly back, and I mean slowly, and slowly forward, so you're massaging it out, if you like. And just keep hunting around and trying to find all the spots that are the worst and focus on those, okay? And like I said, this is about sort of 3 or 4 minutes each side, all right? You only need to do 1 set each side, and see how that one goes to try and release the soft tissue part, help you with the stretching. Now your last one is one that most people have sort of forgotten. That's your figure 4. Now I like this because you've got a sort of a triangle here where you can open up in here, which is hard to do with any other stretch. So what I want you to aim for is putting 1 foot in front of the other like that. It almost looks like you're about to start a pigeon stretch. But you go forward to there, lock that foot in there so it can't move, and then you slowly roll forward and down. Okay. Then come up on elbows again. Now what I've done is I've stretching out a little bit in the front here and to the front triangle. Now from there, what you're trying to do, buttock. So if I squeeze my left buttock, I'm thinking about pushing my hip into the ground. Okay, so push the front of my hip close and close and close to the ground. And it's going to be a really nice stretch deep on the front. Okay, so that one, again, like the hip flexor stretch, you're trying to hold it there for 1 minute to 2 minutes with your buttock on all the time. If I let my buttock go, I lose the stretch. Okay, so keep the buttock on, keep pushing down, and then you'll keep that stretch going. Okay, and this one just stays there static, hold it for 1 minute. And of course, with all these stretches that are left and right, okay, that go for, you know, reps as far as 1 minute long, 2 minutes long, but sets. Aim for, if you've got a tighter side, because you'll notice through these you've got one side tighter than the other, work on the side that's tighter for longer, meaning more sets. Don't have to go longer in how long you hold it for, just more sets. You might just say 4 sets versus 3, or 3 versus 2, meaning doing more on the tighter side. So that's my 4 for the anterior part of the hip. Check out the part 2 video, which is the posterior hip. There's another 4 there. If you can combine those two together, you're going to really help with your hip mobility. See you next time.